One of the most tried and true stories in all of movie films is the buddy cop film. They usually involve one straight edge cop teaming up with a loose cannon in order to defeat a crime boss or solve a mysterious crime, while learning something from each other. Films such as 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon, Tango and Cash, and Turner and Hooch popularized this type of movie film in the 80s. So by the 1990s, this kind of movie film was being made by the truckload, and one movie film that tried to stand out amongst all of them was Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Dolph Lundgren. Brandon Lee. Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Showdown in Little Tokyo is a 1991 action movie film that teams up Ivan Drago and The Crow in a buddy cop movie. So we have Dolph Lundgren as Chris Kenner and the late Brandon Lee as Johnny Muta. It's directed by Mark L. Lester, who brought us such films as Class of 1984 and The Epic Commando. Our movie film begins with Kenner investigating an illegal fighting ring. Kenner is a bit of a loose cannon as he swings in like he's feckin' Tarzan with no backup at all.
Tonica, haven't I told you this is illegal and it pisses me off? You're under arrest.
He breaks up the fight by busting some heads, but the local Yakuza show up and start shooting up the place. The whole place loses the fucking plot as Kenner chases down the Yakuza. The lads are about to dust Kenner with their car, but he has other plans. The lads are like, fucking hell, did you just see what he did? Jesus, he really fucking impressed them. It's the next day and Kenner is horshing some breakfast into himself when the Yakuza boys show up to shake down the owner. So Kenner intervenes. How the hell do these guys not recognize him?
You got a problem, baka?
No.
Surely there aren't many 6'5" blonde Swedish men pretending to be Americans wandering the city streets. Anyway, Kenner starts to bust some heads and sends one of the lads flying right through a window, right into the introduction for our other lead, Johnny Muta. Johnny rushes into the building only to see Kenner kicking some heads in and of course mistakes him for the bad guy, so the lads get into a bit of a fight. That is until the real bad lads start shooting up the place. With their plot armor protecting them from about 1,000 bullets, our two lads discover that they are both cops.
Please drop it! Same? I was gonna say, I was thinking the same.
Weird,
But mine's
you thought
32
42 and then you said
32.
That's same.
The two new partners get lucky and arrest one of the Yakuza members and bring him back for interrogation, which involves Johnny asking the thug random questions to no response and Kenner ripping open his shirt just so he can have a flashback to when his parents were dusted. Back in the station, our boys start bickering over what to do with the Yakuza lad, and Kenner mansplains to an Asian American all about Japanese culture.
Okay, he's Yakuza. It's a perversion of the warrior class that dates back to the 12th century.
But that gives our Yakuza boy time to do this. Hashtag self-dushed. Over in this random scrapyard, we meet our main villain Yoshida, played by Shang Tsung himself, Kari Takawa.
Your brother's soul is mine.
He's watching the trash being taken out and decides afterwards to throw a rager at his big house. Here we meet Minako and her friend Angel, who loves her some crack. Angel gets called up to Yoshida's office where he wants a spot a riding offer, but sadly for Angel, he has a different sort of climax in store for her. The next day, our boys find Angel's dushed body and learn that she was full of the new drug that's been hitting the city called ice. So our boys set off to investigate the case. During their investigation, we get a spot of backstory and we learn that Kenner was raised in Japan and grew up surrounded by Japanese culture, while Johnny is a white owl lad and was raised pure American. The two bust some heads to get into a nightclub to question Angel's friend Minako, who doesn't seem to have any good information for them at all. But hey, this sets up the next action scene as Johnny throws his change into this guy's face and all hell breaks loose. Kenner is a heavy doing some power moves as Johnny uses his quickness to do some flippy shit. The two of them realize that they make a pretty good tag team. But before they can go for tag team gold, our boys end up getting bushed and captured. They are brought face to face with Yoshida, and Kenner gets up to his old tricks again, pulling out a gun and ripping open Yoshida's shirt. He's as bad as Cobra is. Kenner wants to kill Yoshida as he was the man who dusted his parents.
I knew you would come someday. You saved me the trouble of waiting.
But this was just a random encounter between the two. How did he know he'd end up selling drugs in the same city as Kenner, or that Kenner would become a cop?
It doesn't matter what you think!
But Johnny likes being alive, so he tries to tell the lads to lower their guns.
Cop. Policeman. You understand? It's bad to shoot me. He's a cop too. It's bad to shoot him. Shit.
With that not working, he manages to talk Kenner down, and Yoshida lets them leave for some reason. Johnny is rightfully pissed off with Kenner and wants some answers, so Kenner reveals that it was Yoshida who killed his parents and he wants revenge. But Johnny wants to do it by the book, so the two of them put aside their differences and handshake it out like real bros. The next day, the two tail Yoshida to his factory where a ton of drugs are being made, which he's trying to sell to the local gangs. But the deal isn't really going the way he wants it to.
You run the crank business? No way. Go home, fucking slopehead.
The boys changed their tune pretty quickly after that one.
We have a deal? Yeah! How about the rest of you? Yeah, we got a deal.
Having just made the deal of the year, he decides to hit on Minako. But when she refuses his advances, this bastard decides to force himself on her. What a prick. The next day, our boys show up to Yoshida's house only to see him leaving and Minako getting ready to self-dust herself. Kenner tells Johnny to follow Yoshida while Kenner goes in to stop Minako. A house full of bad lads against one Dolph Lundgren? Yeah, I'm sure I know how this is going to go, but sure, let's see how he gets on. Kenner puts his killing spree on hold for a minute to stop Minako from stabbing herself, and then goes right out the feckin' window with her before killing some more bad lads. Final count, a respectable 9 bad lads dushed and 1 car blown the fuck up. After dusting all the bad guys and getting away with the girl, Kenner thinks the best thing to do with a suicidal person is to give them a shotgun. Yeah, not so sure that's a great idea, Kenner. Having left the suicidal person with a shotgun, Kenner meets up with Johnny across town, and the two bust into this bathhouse, where they get into a fight with Yoshida and his boys. Kenner gets the hose, but Johnny saves him with an epic chair shot, while Kenner has to fight Yokozuna, which doesn't go well for the former WWE champion. Also, Johnny kills some lads and the two of them get the hell out of there before the cops arrive. After swinging by and grabbing the surprisingly not dead Minako, Kenner takes him to his Japanese cabin in the woods, where Kenner decides to get cozy and jumps into the hot tub, only to be joined by Minako. And we all know where this is leading to. That's right, to a spot of riding.
What?
That time, I heard you coming.
Sometimes I don't even have to try with these movies, they just make fun of themselves. But there's no time to think on that because the Yakuza show up. With the house about to be attacked, Johnny thinks it's time to tell Kenner something really important.
Kenner, just in case we get killed, I wanted to tell you, you have the biggest dick I've ever seen on a man.
Thanks.
I think someone else wants a word, Johnny.
I am a big, bright, shining star.
Our boys do a good job of fighting them off, but sadly not even Kenner has enough big dick energy to hold these lads off, and our boys along with Minako get captured. So our boys get tortured, and yet they still bicker back and forth.
Really? We don't know anything?
He's gonna do this anyway. Don't beg.
Beg? Fuck you.
Yoshida for some reason decides to watch this on his shitty car TV, only to see Kenner summon the power of Grayskull and bust free. #dushed. Instead of just going into the building and shooting our heroes, the bad guys decide to drive off, only to come back and try to crush our boys in this car. They could have just killed them 10 times over by now, why aren't they just shooting them? But don't you worry, because Kenner once again he-mans his way out of it, and our boys escape. It's the final act of the movie film, so it's time for a montage before a big end fight. Look at the absolute state off. That is the cheapest costume ever. Over at the brewery, Yoshida is well pleased that his deal is going down, but he doesn't know our lads have taken the shipment and are about to crash the party. The boys absolutely riddled the fuck out of everyone in the factory until it's down to just Yoshida and his right-hand man, who Johnny kicks the absolute shite out of before kicking him right into a ton of beer. But before he dusts him, he has to deliver a sweet one-liner.
You have the right to be dead.
Oh fuck, what a waste of beer. Kenner finds Minako tied up between himself and Yoshida, but still decides to open fire even though he could probably hit her. But Yoshida the bastard ends up getting away while Kenner has to save Minako from a fiery death. But don't you worry, because Kenner rushes after Yoshida and the two end up in the middle of a feckin' parade. Kenner, even though he has a massive machine gun, still somehow manages to get shot by Yoshida. But don't you worry, taking a bullet to the chest is nothing, so this massive beast of a man shakes it off and goes for a fight. He calls Yoshida a bitch for using the gun, and this deeply upsets him.
You don't have the honor to fight like a man. You do believe in fate, don't you, Kenner?
So the two of them end up having an epic samurai sword fight. Kenner gets cut to absolute shite, and it looks like Yoshida has this one in the bag. Kenner ends up making a comeback and kills Yoshida in one of the best #dusts yet. #dushed. Was that thing always just going to blow up without him even on it? Seems like a bit of a safety hazard. Our lads get bouted by this amazed crowd who don't seem worried that a lad just got killed in front of them, and they walk off into the distance with the girl, and the movie film is dushed. Showdown in Little Tokyo wasn't a film that I grew up with. I only actually seen the film a few years ago during a night myself and my friends decided to watch some cheesy action movies with some beers, and by the time we got to Showdown in Little Tokyo, let's just say I was fucking beyond steamboats. From my memory, I actually thought that Dolph Lundgren wore an entire samurai suit for the last act, not what he actually wore in the film. I think my drunk self at that point was making up a much better movie than we actually got. So I didn't remember a lot of this, so it felt like I was watching a whole new movie for this film review. And you know what? The movie isn't half bad. It's nothing amazing and is kind of just your standard action buddy cop film, but it does have a certain charm to it. Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee are a very odd couple, but when you put the two of them together, you get this weird sort of chemistry that just kind of works. It's this odd relationship that carries the film, as its action scenes, although fun and staged in some interesting locations, are very run-of-the-mill. The story also really bogs down the overall film, as it's just your standard revenge film mixed in with your subpar drug storyline. But its biggest problem is the very odd choice to have Kenner be the man who's deeply involved with Japanese culture, and Johnny being the guy who knows nothing about it at all. There are so many scenes that are just weird of Dolph explaining to an Asian American about his culture, and I know they tried to explain it away, but it still kind of sticks out today. Also, the way the film deals with the subject matter of rape is just terrible, and it's treated almost as an afterthought, and just there to make Yoshida seem like even more of a bastard. I know this was the early 90s and action films like this were being produced by the truckload, but another go at the script could really have made this film more than it was. It's also kind of strange how in a film filled with the buddy cop cliches we don't get the angry captain screaming at them for destroying half the city. Kenner just seems to be allowed to do whatever he pleases with no consequences and wrecks the fucking gaff. But with all these negatives, the film is fun and won't outstay its welcome because it's only 79 minutes long. Some TV shows are longer than that now, so really if you want to spend your night watching some cheesy B-movie fun with the lad from The Crow and the beefcake that is Dolph Lundgren, then stick on Showdown in Little Tokyo for a bit of a laugh. I give the film 5 out of 10 Horshes.